welcome once again to Senior Focus. I'm your host, Bill Adams. Senior Focus comes to you a couple times each month through Armstrong's Channel 20. And thank you to Greg Roten from Armstrong, and also thanks to Keith Kaiser. Once again, we're at the Davis Visitor Center, and we're in a beautiful library that overlooks Lake Glacier, and we really encourage you to come out to the Davis Center and take advantage of Mill Creek Metro Parks. And of course, Senior Focus is designed for folks over the age of 50 or 60 or so, but if you're younger than that, you may know people in your family or relatives or neighbors that could use the information that we talk about here. And today's show is going to be about Interfaith Home Maintenance, and I want to welcome my guest, Jenni Dennison.
Thank you, Bill. Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming out. And at the very top of the show, why don't we just say, or you could respond to, what is Interfaith Home Maintenance and what's your major role?
Okay. Interfaith Home Maintenance is a nonprofit home repair company, and we were started in 1974 by then Mayor Jack Hunter in response to the closing of steel mills, and he recognized, as did others in the religious community, that people were likely to lose their houses for lack of very simple home repairs. So we started out as a volunteer organization and quickly moved to paid staff. We've been in business continuously since 1974. And we do the kinds of home repairs that low-income homeowners actually need in order to remain in their homes. So things like replacing hot water tanks, furnace repairs, we can replace windows. We do a variety of things.
Well, I would think you're probably, maybe overwhelmed's the wrong word, but you're always busy, right? Is that
Yes, we are.
Fair assessment?
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does, how many people would you serve, say, in an average, maybe in a year?
Well, last year we did 575 jobs. We're heading for about that same number this year. Sometimes we've done as many as 680. It just depends on the requests that we get. And it depends on the size of the jobs that we do too. So
yeah. So you're doing maybe over 10 a week, every week of the year?
Easily.
Yeah.
Right.
And would that vary depending on the season of the year? Say, I imagine in the summer you've got outdoor work you can do and things like that. But,
right.
Yeah.
And it's how we stay busy year round. I mean, we do lawn mowing for 25 clients, the oldest and the lowest income of the folks that we serve who request the service. We do snow removal in the winter, but we do stay busy by balancing our jobs so that we can do inside jobs in the winter, like replacing windows, which you do from the inside, which I didn't know when I first started. I thought we were carrying them up ladders. And we do porch repairs and outside work, obviously, during the summer. So we never have a down season.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been associated with Interfaith?
I've been at Interfaith since '98, and I've been director since 1999.
Okay. And you have a staff. Can you describe a little bit about who works for you?
Sure. We have 8 guys who actually do all of the work. We have a chief supervisor who does all the screening of the jobs, and then we have 3 crews that actually do the jobs. We try to do everything ourselves. We subcontract for things that require licensed professionals, such as electrical work or working on sewer lines, snaking outside lines. And we will use a contractor to dig a trench for a water line that we're replacing. But generally everything else that we do, we're able to do on our own.
And I'm not sure that we talked about this right up front, but this is a good time to, if people are interested in learning more or getting maybe some services, could you give your contact information?
Sure. It's Interfaith Home Maintenance Service, and you reach us by calling 330-743-7800. And one very nice thing about our program is that we take all the applications over the phone. Our hours are 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. We have a phone answering system also that's pretty good now, so you're welcome to leave messages any time of day.
And one thing that I noticed before the show, and you gave me the link, you have a very nice website, And I could just read it off, but it's basically interfaithhomerepair.org.
Right.
And that gives you a good detail, a lot of details on what exactly you do and what you can't do. And
Right,
you know.
exactly. We really want to be able to get our information out as clearly as possible and to as wide an audience as possible. And the website's a great way to kind of look over what the eligibility requirements are and to verify information that you may have gotten on the phone with us. So.
And we'll talk about those, maybe some of the eligibility requirements. And one of the things that struck me on the information that you have there on the website is about the average, I guess, income of the people that you're serving, and that's fairly low, really.
It's extraordinarily low. The income requirement for one person is around $1,500. And for a family of four, it can go up to around $2,200. But the per capita income, the income for each man, woman, and child for whom we worked last year was around $675 a month. We really are working for extremely low-income homeowners. And an interesting demographic about Youngstown is the fact that there remains more homeowners than renters in the city of Youngstown. This is unique to Youngstown. In most areas, the demographic is reversed and there are more renters than owners in older industrial cities. So we're very pleased. We know that we had some serious impact on that.
Yeah, and you do a lot of work with older women.
Right. Typically, our clients are women over the age of 60. Homeowners, female heads of household are 91% of the clients that we serve.
Okay.
And we actually get clients who reflect the low-income homeowners in Youngstown. And it's an astonishing set of figures. So mostly women, mostly older people. Huge percentage of low-income minorities.
With the work that you're doing, again, it's designed to keep people in their own homes. I mean, I would think that would be one of the, besides major health issues, just the fact that the home, over the course of 50 years of living there, and if your husband's died or, whatever, your income isn't that great, you can't really afford to keep it up that way.
Right.
So instead of somebody having to move to a facility or something, they would be able to stay at home. So sometimes through simple repairs, but I guess you also get into a little more advanced things.
We do, but the kind of simple things that we do that people most often need are things like hot water tank replacements, furnace repairs in the middle of winter, minor plumbing repairs, although we can do more major plumbing from time to time, depending on the circumstances. And we don't do cosmetic sorts of things. We don't do exterior painting. We don't deal with outside buildings like garages or anything like that. We don't do tree trimming and major yard work and that sort of thing.
Sure.
We certainly wish we could, but the resources just aren't there for it.
But if somebody, say they've had some health issues and maybe they need a bathroom downstairs,
Right.
Is that something that you help to do?
That is something that we can do. We can provide, we can actually build a first floor bathroom for an individual who can no longer climb stairs. And we see that fairly often with older folks who have developed health problems and simply cannot use the upstairs bathroom. And typically the older house in Youngstown has one bathroom upstairs and usually a commode downstairs in the basement. So we do those kind of adaptations that just make it possible for people to remain at home. We'll also build handicap access ramps, and we can do grab bars. For those kinds of services, though, we do require a physician's statement saying that the items requested, handicap access grab bars, ramps, and first floor bathrooms, are medically necessary, so that we're making sure that the tax dollars that we use are well spent and responsibly spent.
Yeah, and you have to make some, I'm sure, priorities as to what the work you're doing. I mean, I know you have a listing of emergency things that can be done,
Right.
and I guess those would take priority.
They do, and our emergency list is fairly short. It's if you have no working toilet in the house, if you have no way to bathe, which means that a tub or a shower is broken, if there is no water in the house and it's water line and we can do it, we will. A broken furnace in the middle of winter when it's consistently below 32 degrees outside, that's an emergency. Damage from break-ins, like a broken lock on a door. I mean, we can't replace all the windows, but we can secure a house after a break-in, but we require a police report for that. So the list of emergencies is extremely short, and for those of you who are homeowners, you know that there are lots and lots of things that are incredibly difficult that you think would be an emergency, but we have to keep our emergency list to a very, very short one.
Right, because again, you said you're serving 500-600 people
Right.
in a particular year, and do you have any idea of how many people ask for service? I don't know if you even track that, but it must be much more than that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we will get close to 800 or 900 requests in a given year. And we do have a waiting list, but it's usually around 300 to 350 people at any given point in time. But given the number of jobs that we do, I mean, that sounds overwhelming, but we really do, because of the way we divide the jobs, cold weather to warm weather and so forth, we get through that waiting list pretty quickly, or as best as we can.
Okay. And again, if people are interested in signing up, say they have a relative, can they sign up on behalf of the relative?
They can, but we will ask for information about income. We need to see a third-party verification, which
Okay.
typically is the letter you get from the Social Security Administration every year. And we will require 6 months' worth of pay stubs, and then we'll use an average for that period. And maybe we can talk about eligibility in a minute or
Sure,
so.
sure,
That would
yeah.
be great.
Yeah, in fact, if you wanted to start into that,
Okay.
about, how, who would be eligible, and, what, again, just describe the process.
Sure. So in order to be eligible for Interfaith Services, you have to own your home. You have to have lived in the home for at least 1 year and have owned the home for a year. You cannot own any other houses. The taxes have to be paid, or there has to be a tax payment plan in place. And what that means is that if you owe taxes, you actually have to go to the treasurer's office and enter into a payment plan and bring the proof of that to us.
Okay.
Utilities have to be on. We need electricity to use our power tools. If we're there to repair a gas leak inside the house, obviously your gas isn't going to be on. And
We hope not.
if your water is off because of a water line leak, that's okay. But generally, we want to know that the utilities are on and up to date. And based on the number of people who are in the home, we have an income guideline, which is incomes at or below 50% of area median, which sounds exotic, but it isn't. And all the income guidelines are on our website at interfaithhomerepair.org. We do have to have income verification for everybody in the house. We count all income from all sources and before taxes. So we do include things like child support, and we include any kind of income made from jobs, side jobs, anything.
So if, again, an older person had relatives living there, maybe they were working, you would include that?
We absolutely would.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll find a home that has two owners, one of whom is staying at the house and one of whom is not. We still have to include that other person's income as well. So.
Okay. But again, the majority of the people that you're working with are maybe living at home, would you say? I mean,
Yes.
most of those.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and they're older.
Yes, yeah. And that's just the demographic. We believe that that accurately reflects who the homeowners, low-income homeowners are in Mahoning County. So it's not that we, are reaching some perfumed group that knows
Right.
to call us. We actually do serve low-income homeowners, and they find us.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to ask too, is how, are you getting a lot of word of mouth at this point? A neighbor says, oh, or somebody sees a house and says, oh, that's a nice, new window you got,
Right.
or something, and you probably hear from word
Most
of
of our referrals are word of mouth. And people will see our trucks out in the neighborhoods or on the street and ask their neighbor, who is that group and what's their number. We don't advertise per se. We've done so in the past, and the waiting list just grows. So
Yeah.
we really try hard to remain as responsive as we possibly can to the requests that we get.
And you talked a little about the history going back into the 1970s and the reason for the startup. At this point, could you talk a little bit about the funding of the program and where the money comes from to help people do this? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We are first and foremost, probably a partner agency with the Youngstown Mahoning Valley United Way. We receive funding from the City of Youngstown through their Community Development Block Grant Program. And we receive a large part of our money from the Ohio Housing Trust Fund, which is part of the Ohio Development Services program at the state. We also are funded by the Area Agency on Aging, District 11. They've been staunch supporters for many, many years. And like our program, because we're serving their constituents. And we also receive donations from local private foundations and from individuals. And for those of you who might be interested in donating, there's a link on our website. And we would also encourage anybody who would like to make a donation to do so through the Youngstown Foundation. They have a website, and it's youngstownfoundation.org, and you can simply call them on the phone. They will add 5% of any gift that is between $100 and I think $5,000. So
Okay.
very, very nice thing that the service that the Youngstown Foundation provides.
And of course, they could also contact you, I would
Right.
imagine. and
Oh,
you could-
absolutely.
You could steer them through. And why don't, again, at this point, mention the phone number and where you could be reached.
Sure. Our number is 330-743-7800. And you can always leave a message. And we're there from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Now, again, on the website, one of the interesting things, and I don't know, you might have mentioned this, but in the warmer months, I know, again, you do the yard work, some lawn cutting and things like that, but I believe I read that you will help till some gardens?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And we have the equipment to till gardens, and that is a job that we do almost immediately when we're asked, because obviously if we get the request in April, we can't do it in June. That isn't going to do anybody much good. And it's nice that you mentioned that, because the Youngstown Neighborhood Development Corporation, which actually is doing a great deal of work here in the Idora neighborhood, is really encouraging urban farming, and that activity has seen a great amount of growth. And we're hoping that folks will know that if you do have a plot on your property or next door, that you can give Interfaith a call and we'll come and till the yard for you.
I mean, that's really neat. Again, I'm thinking of some of the older adults who like to grow tomatoes or their
Exactly.
vegetables in the backyard.
Right.
And it's a win-win for everybody, because again, they will be eating fresh produce and helping to produce that. You know, it's a
Absolutely.
great activity. It's physically and mentally.
Right.
And they can only do that if the ground is tilled and you're doing that. So,
Exactly.
yeah, that's really neat.
Exactly. So for sure, keep us in mind for that.
Now, and you know, we've talked about some of the particular jobs, but maybe we can go into a little bit more detail about some of the, you know, again, some of the work you're doing. Let's say now, you know, in the colder months, indoor work, And just to relate, it was many years ago, but because you guys have been around since the 70s, but my uncle, who was in Camel, he was living alone and older, and at one point we called and you guys came out and installed, a rail, I believe,
Right.
and helped him out. And again, that helped to allow him to stay at home. But if you want to go into more detail and maybe show some examples of work.
Well, I think we have some pictures that'll be put up on the screen, but we do exactly that kind of thing. We do a lot of things that people just absolutely couldn't manage on their own. One of the nicest things that we do, or at least the things that make people the happiest outside of plumbing repairs for things that don't work anymore, are kitchen cabinets. We can do upper cabinets or lower cabinets. We do flooring. We do interior painting when we can and when we have the resources to do that. The first floor bathrooms are obviously a great big deal because if you can't get upstairs, that's an impossible situation. We have a wonderful picture of lower kitchen cabinets and a sink that we replaced, which was a great boon for this homeowner. So often we'll walk into a house, the place is absolutely spotless, but everything has just totally fallen to pieces.
Oh,
I
boy.
remember being in a house of a woman who had carpeting in the living room, and all the fiber had come off. So she just scrubbed the plastic every day,
Oh,
just
my.
to make sure it was all clean. And we do safety doors. We can put doors up.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
And we replace the doors that have the glass windows. The safety doors have a little viewer in them, and we'll put them at the owner's height or wherever the owner would like to have them.
Sure.
They're really good steel doors. We verify everything, the work that we do in the city of Youngstown. We check with CDA to make sure that we're not violating any historic districts, because that's a very important thing as well. But that said, we still do a lot of things like windows, which people really, really appreciate and are so happy to have.
Well, especially again in the winter, you have a drafty window or something with a hole in it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And we can't, remember that with windows, you do go on the waiting list, but if a window has gotten damaged or broken, we can come and simply board it up as long as it's, not the only window in a bedroom, or
Right.
that it wouldn't be a violation of code to do so.
And with the website, can people sign up through? You said to call, right? Is that
Yeah,
right?
we do take the information over the phone because we're asking for social security numbers,
Okay.
birth dates, and lots of identifying information. And we do not want to have that floating around
Right.
down to the internet.
Right, so you don't want to do it that way. Yeah, that makes
No,
makes sense.
right.
Well, what about if people are above the income levels and, if in your evaluation you can't help somebody, do you refer to other agencies, or what are some other options that people might have?
There really are very few options. Right now, Youngstown Neighborhood Development Corporation has a house painting program that they're doing in each of the 7 wards in Youngstown.
Okay.
And they're doing concentrated housing rehab in 3 neighborhoods. But the housing rehab that they do are usually whole house rehabs and fairly big deals. There is nobody else who does what we do, and we're really quite careful not to compete in the marketplace with small businesses. This
Right.
is a key core value of ours. We are working for folks who cannot afford otherwise to purchase our services in the marketplace. So we're conscious of that and conscientious about verifying incomes.
Well, and when you do your jobs, what about purchasing supplies? How do you go about that? You buy local group?
We buy from local companies as much as we possibly can. We obviously have to use big box stores for things that local companies cannot provide, but the vast majority of our purchases are done locally with wonderful companies, C&V and Banner Supply and many others, Ace Hardware. We don't try to request special deals or breaks or, reduced prices, because we really do not store a lot of materials, so we want to be able to buy what we need when we need it. And that again is very central to our operation.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, is do you have some kind of warehouse where you keep all this? But I guess that would get very expensive too.
It would,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
would. And so the one thing that will sort of squirrel away are hot water tanks. When the price is good, we'll buy as many as we can afford.
Okay,
but
yeah.
That's about it.
And again, why don't we give out contact information about Interfaith Home Maintenance?
Sure. So our phone number is 330-743-7800. And I want to remind everybody that we are able to communicate with folks who speak only Spanish.
Okay.
Our intake worker is fluent in Spanish. It's her first language. And we can locate translators for other folks who may require other languages. We take all of our requests over the phone, and you're welcome to call. We encourage you to do so.
And one thing about your staff, you have a supervisor of the repairs, and what's the experience of your staff as far as doing maintenance work?
We have folks who have been with us over 30 years, 20 years, 10 years. Our staff is extraordinarily experienced. We do everything that we know how to do to keep well-trained, happy staff. And we pay a living wage. Our guys are licensed lead renovators, although we don't do lead abatements, but we provide training. We provide all of the power tools. Our guys are expected to have their own hand tools. We have our own vehicles. We really are soup to nuts. We have everything that we need to do what we're supposed to do.
Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about? Or?
I don't think so. I think you've covered everything really, really well. But we
Okay.
just encourage people to call us if there are any questions whatsoever, 330-743-7800.
Well, we appreciate your coming out onto Senior Focus. Again, this is very important information, and this is for all of Mahoning County, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So if you're someone, and the individual income is about $1,500 a month approximately?
It is. And I do want to remind folks that we can work on house trailers as well. We can do hot water tank replacements and certain kinds of repairs. There are a few things we can't do in a trailer, but almost anything we can do in a house, we can do in a trailer.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do have older relatives
Sure.
in that situation. So
Right.
again, feel free to contact Interfaith Home Maintenance, and thanks, Jenny, for coming on.
Thank you so much.
And again, you've been watching Senior Focus. My name is Bill Adams. We come to you a couple times each month through Armstrong's Channel 20. And thank you to Greg Roten, who is the director of Channel 20 and the Community Access Program. Also, thanks to Keith Kaiser. Keith allows us to use the beautiful Davis Visitor Center, and specifically today we're in the library. And come on out for a visit. Any time of the year is really nice to visit at the Davis Center and all of Mill Creek Metro Parks, but that's what the parks are there for, to come out and use them. So until next time, I want to thank you for watching.